Mr. President.
The Majority Leader.
Good morning, Mr. President. Now, yesterday, our Republican colleagues officially decided who will lead their conference beginning in the new year. Once again, I congratulate Senator Thune on being chosen by his colleagues as the next Republican leader. I've served with Senator Thune in this chamber for many years, and I'm glad to say we found common ground on a number of different issues, including veterans assistance, strengthening our national security, and more recently, the Kids Online Safety Bill, among other bills. We've gotten along well and worked together in the past. I look forward to finding ways to work together in the future. We'll have our differences for sure, and we'll make those differences known on a regular basis here on the Senate floor. But my friend from South Dakota can rest assured our side of the aisle will always seek to work in good faith and seek common ground whenever possible. But if the Senate's to be successful in the years to come, if we are to continue to be productive and effective in representing the American people, as well as we have over the past 4 years, there are a few things the new Republican majority should not forget. Hopefully they won't. Most importantly, Senate Republicans should continue to prioritize bipartisanship when they enter into the majority next year. On my first day as Majority Leader, I pledged to make bipartisanship a key part of how the Senate does its business. I said then, I've said it many times since, the Senate works best when both sides work together. 4 years later, Democrats have not only kept our promise, but we've proven that bipartisanship can work in very significant ways. The majority was the most productive majority the Senate has had in decades. But that could not have happened had we not made the conscious choice to reach across the aisle. It was bipartisanship that cleared the way for the biggest infrastructure bill in a generation. It was bipartisanship that got the CHIPS and Science bill done. And now jobs, thousands, millions, hundreds of thousands of jobs are returning to the United States, and we're making those chips here. It was bipartisanship that held the line against Putin and defended Ukraine. It was bipartisanship that made sure we saw zero government shutdowns under this administration. The list goes on. Marriage equality, the first gun safety bill in decades, kids online safety. All of these accomplishments were possible because Democrats were willing to work with the other side. We still have work to do in this chamber before the year is out, but I'm proud of the record we built over the last 4 years, one that we accomplished by reaching across the aisle whenever the chance presented itself. I earnestly hope the next few years are as fruitful and as collaborative as the last 4. I earnestly hope bipartisanship continues, because that's the only way we'll be successful in the Senate. But that will be up to Senate Republicans to decide for themselves. Now on Senate business. There's much the Senate has yet to accomplish before the end of the year. It'll be a busy time. Government funding is scheduled to run out on December the 20th. Both sides must work together to prevent a shutdown before then. Nobody wants to hear the words Christmas-time shutdown a few weeks from now. I can't think of something the American people would want less during the holidays. Just as we've done repeatedly over the past couple of years, both sides must compromise and work together to make sure the government remains funded. We also need to pass the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, to provide for our troops and hold the line against America's adversaries. I hope our Republican colleagues work with us to advance key policies to outcompete the Chinese Communist Party and secure America's leadership on some of the most cutting technologies from our time, from AI to innovations in biotech and quantum computing and more. We've gotten the NDAA done over the last 6 decades without fail, and we must do it again this year. Another issue that requires our attention is disaster aid to support communities across the country in times of disaster. No state or community is immune from disaster. We've seen that over the last few years, from hurricanes in Florida and wildfires in Hawaii, floods in the Northeast, droughts on the West Coast, and everywhere in between. If we want to help these communities recover and rebuild after disasters, we must pass comprehensive, robust funding that leverages all programs across the federal government to help our communities in need. It's been a hallmark of America. when one of the regions of our country, one of the parts of our country, the towns, the villages, the counties, the states, have had real trouble because the hand of God through weather and disaster has affected them, the whole country rallies to their side. That's been a tradition. A few haven't abided by it on instances on the other side, but it's a tradition we must keep, and hopefully we can move forward on disaster aid. We also need to make progress on the Farm Bill, and I commend Chair Stabenow for her bipartisan work on this matter. Democrats are serious about getting a Farm Bill done, one that represents the needs of everyone, from farmers and ranchers to hungry Americans. And finally, as we continue to work through these matters, the Senate continues to make progress on confirming President Biden's highly qualified nominees. Today, the Senate will confirm another judge on the U.S. Tax Court and the director of the Office of Government Ethics, and will advance Embry Kidd's nomination for Circuit Court Judge for the 11th Circuit. So, Mr. President, we have a lot of work to do on several fronts, but I am encouraged so far by the cooperation on both sides. Yield the floor, note the absence of a quorum.